Welcome, everyone. My name is Melissa Madison, Executive Director of the 494 Corridor Commission and Commuter Services, and we're delighted that you've joined us. Next slide, please. You will receive a recording of this webinar as well as the PowerPoint slides. Questions will be answered at the end of each presentation, and to submit your questions, please use the Q&A tool. And if you have a question after this live webinar, please email it. And we'll ask that you please refrain from using the chat option to submit your question. Again, please use Q&A. And there are roughly 500 people on this webinar, so we won't be able to get to everyone's questions today, but we will catalog them and we will answer every question in a follow-up email to everyone who has registered for this webinar. You'll receive the recording of the webinar, the slide deck, and every question and answer. And please allow us about a week to get that to you. Next slide, please. Commuter Services is the outreach program of the 494 Corridor Commission. And the Commission is a joint powers organization established in 1986 to address concerns about traffic congestion on the corridor. And our member cities are Bloomington, Eden Prairie, Edina, Minnetonka, and Richfield. And there are more jobs in this section of 494 than anywhere else in the state of Minnesota, including downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul combined. And people from 85 out of the state's 87 counties travel this section of 494 every day. Next slide, please. In just a moment, Tim will take over to deliver MnDOT's presentation. Tim Klein is one of MnDOT's construction managers overseeing the design build project for 494. Tim is a graduate of the University of Minnesota with both a bachelor and master's degree in civil engineering. He has been with MnDOT since 2005. And his Highway 160, or his 494 Airport to 169 counterpart, Tara Renberg, manages the project's bridge and wall construction efforts. Next slide, please. After Tim's presentation, I will run through several slides with information on free resources for employers, commuters, and residents. Next slide. I'm going to turn it over to you, Tim.
Okay, thanks so much, Melissa, for a nice introduction. Thanks to everyone in attendance, and appreciate everyone's interest and tuning in today to hear a little bit about what's going on 494. So just a quick agenda, what I'll talk about today, just project background, what we've done so far, and work coming up mostly this year, but then the next couple of years, traffic impacts as well. So I'll give a brief update, just some background on the 494 Airport to 169 design build project. This project has been under development since 2001. We've done one of our first environmental studies, kind of geometrics, layout, and looking at traffic patterns, things like that. We've done additional efforts all along the way in 2009, 2014, 17, and finally brought us where we are today. So this project has been a lot of work. It's been over 20 years in the making. We're happy to finally be where we're at under construction in the corridor. So why are we here in the first place? What's the main purpose and need for this project? There's several things that go into it, but in the course of our studies, mobility or travel time, basically just moving people and freight through the 494 corridor and doing so safely. Those seem to be the two highest drivers for the project out here. Also, we have our interstate system was built in the 1960s, so it's starting to show its age. So the pavement and the bridge conditions are deteriorating such that they need some work. We have some stormwater drainage problems that we're going to address, and also just involvement with the community. We have pedestrian and bicycle connectivity both along and across 494. So a lot of needs for the project, a lot of partners. This is a big project. MnDOT didn't just do this by ourselves. We have a lot of local agencies involved, Federal Highway Administration, even Met Council and the Airport Commission. So we have a lot of people who brought funding to the table, and besides that, a lot of stakeholders as well, just people interested in the project and having input, serving on various task forces, kind of all along the way throughout project development, including the Corridor Commission residents, businesses, travelers, and the folks online here today. So when we talk about the project, we have what's called a full vision. What is ultimately what the corridor is going to look like all the way from Highway 169 to the airport. And we really have a vision to widen 494, add an additional lane in each direction between 169 and the airport, 24th Avenue in particular, and that lane being a managed easy pass lane. The 494 and 35W interchange is one of the busiest interchanges in the state, carries a lot of traffic, so it needs some geometric improvements to improve traffic flow and safety there, and then some access changes and consolidation on the east end between 35W and 77. So that's our ultimate vision for this corridor. That's a lot. It's a lot of work. We can't do all of that in one single project, so we're breaking it up into smaller projects, and that gets us to this particular project that I'm talking about today, the I-494 Edina, Bloomington, and Richfield project, or you might hear me say the 494 Design Build project. This is the first project to deliver the full vision, but it's by far the largest, both in terms of scope and cost and time. So what we're doing, you can see in orange the project location there. We go from East Bush Lake Road on the west end, just about to Highway 77 on the east end. We don't actually get into the ramps at 77, but so the corridor stretches about 6 miles, the whole project length. We will be fully reconstructing 494 and adding the easy pass lane in both directions between East Bush Lake Road and 35W. We'll be improving the interchange itself at 35W and doing some bridge improvements and access consolidation on the east end at Nicollet Avenue, Portland, and 12th. Right now, if you drive through the corridor, there's ramps and loops, on ramps and off ramps at all three of those cross streets, Nicollet, Portland, and 12th, and it causes a lot of congestion. So we are closing the interchanges at Nicollet and 12th and reconstructing a full access interchange at Portland Avenue, along with a pedestrian bridge that crosses 494 at Chicago Avenue. Okay. So one of the centerpiece, I would say, of the project is the 35W interchange and what we call a turbine ramp. So right now you have the cloverleaf design. So the eastbound 494 movement to northbound 35W has to merge on in a short distance. At the same time, the northbound 35W to westbound 494 movement has to merge to that off loop there, causes a lot of congestion, a lot of a lot of crashes. So on the right side, you see the new turbine ramp that we will be building. It's basically a big flyover bridge similar to what you see at Highway 77 or over at 169 and 494. So the northbound to westbound movement will now be on that new flyover ramp. Okay. This big picture project benefits. What are we going to get for in this big project? Improved safety is a big driving factor in this project, and improve traffic flow, reduce congestion. Those are two of the biggest drivers of this project and biggest benefits. You'll see improved bike and pedestrian accessibility with new bike trails, sidewalks, cycle tracks, and things like that all throughout the corridor. Fixing the pavement and bridge condition, so a smoother road surface, extending the pavement life, and also improve drainage. We sometimes in heavy rain events, 494 floods. We don't like it when the interstate floods, so we will do some improvements to the drainage system throughout the corridor. Okay. Again, this is a big project. It's a 4-year project, just short of $400 million. It started in the spring of 2023, and we aim to complete the project by fall 2026. That's our plan, and we have every intention of getting to the finish line by the fall of 26. There's a lot of work to be done in 4 years. So, like I said, we started last year already with kind of the initial phase of the project. We've done a lot of temporary widening and crossovers, lane shifts, just basically getting ready to move traffic so that we can accommodate the construction that needs to happen. We've done some of the permanent pavement. We've reconstructed eastbound 494 between East Bush Lake Road and Highway 100, including 3 of the ramps kind of in that area. We have reconstructed the northwest and the northeast diagonal ramps at 35W, as well as the Lindale on-ramp to westbound 494. So some of that work is permanent. We've begun construction of the turbine bridge, again carrying the northbound 35W to the westbound 494 movement. And along with that, because we're doing so much work on the interstate and widening the interstate and changing the access on the east side, we have to do a lot of work to the local road system as well. So as part of that, we're widening Portland Avenue. That's going to be the full access interchange there. We had to take a few buildings down to make room for those improvements along Portland. And utility relocations. There are over 20 different public and private utility owners throughout the corridor who have power poles, telecom lines and things like that, gas lines that sometimes the construction is in conflict with that. So we've begun moving the utilities out of the way so that we can build the project. So a few pictures just showing construction so far. As a kid, I always liked to play in the dirt. I still get to play in the dirt, so I have some fun. We are moving almost 1 million cubic yards of dirt needs to be hauled off of the project site. So that translates to a lot of trucks moving in and out of the corridor. Along with the major reconstruction, we also have to we're improving and reconstructing overhead signs. If you can see up top of that sign bridge truss there's a guy in yellow crawling at the top of the sign bridge. That was not me. I don't do things like that, but contractor has the privilege of climbing up in the middle of the night to help remove sign bridges and things like that. Storm sewer, we are installing about 14 miles of stormwater pipe under the pavement structure just to carry all the water and outlet it, so it gets off of the roadway system and safely to where it needs to go. So a lot of pipe, um, a lot of retaining walls. There are almost 40 retaining walls on the project. Most of those, you think of a traditional wall as just cast in place concrete and steel reinforcement. We have some of those, but we also are building some retaining walls out of soil and fabric. So this is an example. We call it a reinforced soil slope. There's also mechanically stabilized earth walls, just fancy names for dirt and fabric instead of a concrete wall that we need to build in order to accommodate the freeway expansion. Um, as anyone who's worked in construction before might know, that anytime you start digging a hole, you find a bunch of things that you didn't expect. I mentioned all of the utilities that we know had to move. This is just one particular location by East Bush Lake Road. We were digging a pond and we found a whole bunch of things that we didn't expect. We found an abandoned storm sewer and manhole here that was in the way. We found these 4 wires here, electrical conduit. 3 of them were empty, but one of them carried live wire that was still in use, so we had to reroute that to a safe place. We also found some abandoned water mains, a wood power pole, sanitary sewers, and again, this was all just in one small little location. So multiply that by an almost 6-mile corridor, and we find a lot of unexpected things. But that's what we do in construction, and we adapt and make do as we go along. We've done a lot of temporary bituminous paving. A lot of times this ends up being done at night because we need to take a lane, either because we're paving right up next to a live traffic lane, or just to deliver the asphalt material to the paver. So we do that at night when the road is less busy. We've done some concrete paving as well. We have almost 300,000 square yards of concrete paving, which translates into basically paving 6 full-size football fields, just covering 6 football fields with concrete pavement. So a lot of that work on this project. And again, I like this picture from a drone photograph of the 35W interchange. So the drone is sitting north of 494 looking southbound along 35W. So on the left side of the screen, you see a crane with the piles, steel piles that we pound into the ground. In the center is the pier, concrete pier that will hold the beams. And then on the right side, the other crane is by the west abutment of the bridge. So this was earlier in the fall. We now have the abutments and pier is all the way up to the top. We have beams set and we'll be ready to pour the deck in about a month or so. So construction continues. A profile project like this attracts a lot of attention. So we had a guest inspector out here last fall as well. So some fun, unexpected things that we see on the project at times. So this winter, it's with the interesting weather that we've had all winter, the construction didn't really stop. We just it slowed down quite a bit, but the construction continued all winter long, moving dirt with some bridge construction, some pipe jacking, and installing drainage pipes under the freeway. We've continued with utility relocates. One of the big pushes is just to complete the design for the remainder of the project. So that's been a huge push over the winter. We're almost there. In another couple of weeks, we expect to have especially the roadway and drainage plans ready to go and ready to build. And we've done a lot of public outreach to the local businesses and residents in forums like today's, just to prepare for a very busy construction season the next 3 years. So what's coming this year? 2024, we will reconstruct westbound 494, way on the west end of the project again, from East Bush Lake Road to Highway 100, so that by the end of this season, we should be done with the large majority of the mainline work between Highway 100 to the west. So that then we can focus the next 2 years between Highway 100 and Highway 77. We plan on reconstructing all of eastbound 494 from Highway 100, where we left off last year, to Lindale Avenue, just on the east side of 35W. We will reconstruct American Boulevard, so frontage road on the south side of 494 in Bloomington between Highway 100 and France Avenue. There are a lot of local businesses and residents along that stretch, so we maintain access to all those businesses while we reconstruct the road and put in water main and storm sewer and things like that. A lot of work on the local system there. We will do some of the bridges over 35W along 494, reconstruct those bridges. We will put up the new pedestrian bridge at Chicago Avenue on the east side. And then again, like I mentioned, some of the work on the local system because of the access changes and improvements to the freeway. We anticipate, different traffic patterns on the local nearby system. So we have some work at the Penn Avenue and 82nd Street intersection and American Boulevard and Lindale to install an extra turn lane, signal improvements, things like that. Yeah. Here's a zoomed out view of the traffic impacts for this year. Again, you see all the way from East Bush Lake Road, just about to Highway 77, the blue, all the blue ramps there that you see are temporary closures. So just about every ramp and loop, especially along the eastbound side of 494, will be closed temporarily at some point during this season to reconstruct. We'll obviously have detours set up. So when we have either 35W or Highway 100 ramps closed, we try to route folks to other MnDOT highways. So we'll use Highway 62, 77, and even out to Highway 212 on the west side of town. We also have some local closures along Southtown Drive, Clover Drive. I have another slide that shows that better in a minute. But one thing to mention and for folks to keep in mind as they drive through the corridor is that just like last year, you can expect occasional lane closures. We're always going to maintain 3 lanes of traffic, both westbound and eastbound on 494 and on 35W as well. We'll always have 3 lanes of traffic in both directions during the day. Overnight, we may restrict some lanes and close some ramps. And we may have there's a couple of weekend full closures where the whole freeway is closed for a segment and we'll reroute traffic on detour routes. There will be a lot of nighttime work these next couple of years. There's just so much work to do in the next few years that some of it has to be at night. So just be aware that you may hear equipment moving. We limit the really loud jackhammering and pile driving, things like that. Can't be done at night, but there will be night work to keep in mind. And similar to last year, there will be a shoot lane configuration where, for example, one lane of eastbound traffic may be flipped over to the westbound side of the highway, but still going eastbound. So similar to last year or to other large pavement projects that we've done around the metro. So just zooming in a little bit on the west side of the project from East Bush Lake Road to Penn, you can see some of the main line, the ramp closures and the work. The frontage road, Southtown Drive on the southeast corner of Penn there. We have to reconstruct that as well and closing the far end of it. On the east end, Clover Drive is a frontage road kind of in the southeast quadrant of 35W. That is getting closed permanently, along with some portions of both North and South 78th Street between Portland and Chicago. And again, that's to accommodate the interchange at Portland and the pedestrian bridge at Chicago Avenue. Okay. So assuming all of that goes just perfectly this year and what's coming the next 2 years. So in 2025, we'll turn around, go the other direction and reconstruct 494 between Lindale and Highway 100. We plan to complete the interchanges with 35W, both at 494 and 82nd Street as well. And the Portland Avenue Bridge will be replaced along with the interchange there at Portland. So that's in 25. And then in 2026, we plan to replace the Nicollet and the 12th Avenue bridges across 494. And by the end of the season, the Easy Pass system should be complete and turned on along 494 between East Bush Lake Road and 35W. So, that's a lot of work. As those of you who are tuned in today know that we do a lot of outreach and try to get our information out to the public so that you know what to expect when we're driving through the work zone. We have a consultant contract on board to manage 3 of the projects that MnDOT has kind of all in the area right around 494 and the airport. The orange one there on the right side of the screen is the 494 design build project that I've been talking about. The green one, last year we had a mill and overlay project, just a pavement preservation project on 35W. That project is complete now, so you shouldn't see any work on 35W for that project. And then the Minnesota River Bridge that carries 494 across the river east of the airport. That's another separate from this project that I manage, but it's another project that MnDOT is doing in the same corridor. So we have a team on board to help us manage the communications for all 3 of those projects. They have set up a public information hotline, both an email and a phone number that you can call there for more information or any questions that you have. And then we have a couple of websites there that you can also go to for more information. Those are updated regularly. The first one there, the 494 Edina Richfield, that is the construction project website, I call it. So there's a link in the bottom right side of the page. I'd encourage people to sign up for email updates that regularly come to your inbox, tell you what's happening. The second link there, the airport to 169, is what I call the study. That's the full vision and a lot more of the background of how we got where we are today and what the rest of the project after we're done with this will look like. And then, of course, there's MnDOT's 511 traveler information system as well. Okay, so I have just a few slides that I'm going to talk about the River Bridge project to the east, like I talked about. Again, that goes from the airport or 24th Avenue across the Minnesota River to about Pilot Knob Road in Eagan. And the main project benefits that we'll see there is improved safety and accessibility. Again, the main reason is to repair and extend the life of the bridge across the river. Again, the bridge is getting old and worn out, so it needs some repairs. Provide a smoother pavement surface and extend the pavement life. And again, some drainage improvements along with that project as well. So this year, what to expect in construction when you're driving through the area. Again, lane and ramp closures throughout the project area, night work, things like that. The biggest impact you're going to notice is we will reduce a lane and only allow 2 lanes of 494 traffic in each direction um, as it crosses the Minnesota River Bridge. So between Highway 5 and Highway 13, we're going to fully close the westbound direction of the bridge, put all 4 lanes of traffic to in each direction on the eastbound bridge while we rehab the westbound bridge. There's a temporary crossover installed by Highway 5 so that people can still access the MSP airport. And then there's some other miscellaneous surface repairs on bridges and pavement on the west end of the 494 pavement and bridges in front of the airport and the Mall of America. There's a short stretch between 24th and 34th Avenue that it will be reduced to 1 lane for a short time, again, to do those repairs. So again, they have a project public information hotline. It's the same email and phone number, and then a separate project website that you can see to get more information. So I kind of zoomed through the information that I had there to share about the project, but I would be happy to pause here, take a breath, and answer some questions.
Perfect. Okay, well, I've been cataloging the questions and we have some great questions to throw at you, Tim. The
Great.
first one is traffic coming from the airport west toward 35W backs up
Yep.
almost as bad as coming from the other direction.
Okay.
Will a new entry or exit ever be put in for the westbound direction?
Does that mean entry from the airport or from the 35W?
I couldn't
Not
tell
sure I
from
understand the question.
what was written, so if the original person who typed it, which is Deborah Townsend, Deborah, if you want to clarify.
The short answer, if I can discern what the question was about, there's not improvement in this project. There is a future project that we don't have funding for yet, but we do intend to continue going east toward the airport. And I imagine that some of those ramp and access improvements will happen in a future project. So
Alrighty. Is it really cost effective to do all of the work to the 35W 494 interchange to only add a single flyover?
good question. Valid question. And the answer is we've done pretty extensive traffic modeling to study the interchange and all of the traffic movements, both current and projected. And really what we've determined is that it's only the northbound to westbound movement that is that heavy that demands a flyover bridge. The other 3 loops can handle the traffic that's projected to come along into the future.
Thank you. Will the pedestrian bridge at Chicago be stairs? The existing pedestrian bridge is stairs and it is not accessible for wheelchairs and bicycles.
Yep, good question. That pedestrian bridge is at 2nd Avenue, I believe, behind Menards, and you're right, that has stairs. We are not touching that bridge. That will stay there. The new bridge at Chicago Avenue, yes, it does have stairs, but it also has a fully ADA accessible ramp up and down on both sides. So there's a lot of apartment buildings on the north side and Walmart and other businesses on the south side. So it will be fully accessible to people in wheelchairs and limited mobility. Yep.
Thank you. Can the large overhead directional signs be covered or modified to reflect the real-time access conditions? On several occasions in 2023, I tried to get home from work via 494 and found the exits blocked despite the signage that indicated they were open.
Good question. So if there are long-term closures, say, yes, we do cover those signs, take them down and put up ground mounted signs and things like that. So we do for long-term closures of ramps, yes, we do update the information that's on the signs. If it's just a short weekend or overnight closure, generally we do not cover those signs for very short-term night closures. So,
Okay, thank you.
mhm,
With the elimination of the 12th exits,
mhm.
will the new bicycle corridor over 494 be retained?
Yes, yes, we are improving the bike connections over 494. There is a trail along 12th Avenue that will still continue from about 78th Street south across the bridge over 494, and then also I believe that there are bike lanes on Portland Avenue as well. So yes, they will be bike connectivity will be maintained and hopefully improved with this project.
Thank you. Another question, where does all the dirt go?
um, Quite often, honestly, it goes to landfill. Sometimes it goes to landfills. Sometimes it goes just back to an aggregate pit where somebody else can grab it and use it for another project. Sometimes the contractor will, they have other projects that they're doing around the metro that need dirt, so they can haul it from this project to a different project. So it goes a lot of different places, and as far as MnDOT's concerned, we don't necessarily always know where it goes. It's for the contractor to manage their own operations. But
Okay,
good question.
thank you. Next question, what about the bike lane over the Minnesota River Bridge?
Okay. Um, I don't recall. I believe that the bike lane during next year, during one of the years that that direction of the bridge is closed, I believe that the bike lane is closed as well. I don't remember that information off the top of my head, so I may have to get back to you on that. At the end of the project, the bike lane will certainly remain there and be maintained. I just don't recall if it stays there during the duration of the project.
Yes, okay. Let me get the next question here. Will there be increased park and ride support for people coming from the East Metro for the duration of the project?
Um, MnDOT does not specifically have increased park and ride information there, but I'm guessing, Melissa, that might tee up a question for your presentation here after the question and answer session. So maybe you can
That
speak about
particular
that.
is not being covered. We haven't heard
Okay.
from the Met Council or Metro Transit that they're
Okay.
adding park and rides, but I'll certainly ask them and include the answer when we send the follow-up Q&A to people in about a week.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Mhm.
I'm curious how MnDOT engages with apps like Google Maps to ensure directions are updated to reflect construction closures.
Yep, good question. When we enter information into the 511 system, so that covers anything on the MnDOT highway system. So 494, 35W, and all the ramps and loops. That 511 system does interact with Google Maps and Waze and the other, wayfinding apps on your phone. So um, I'm not a technology guy. I don't understand how that happens, but I do understand that it does talk with those other applications. It doesn't work for the local road system, unfortunately. So, if we're close, if we have impacts to American Boulevard or Portland Avenue itself, it does not capture those.
Next question. What is the time frame, duration, and expected dates for the closure to one lane at the river?
Um, I will have to get back to you on the single lane closure by the river. The start date for when we put people into 2 lanes in each direction across the bridge is a little bit in flux, because of some complications that were run into over the winter, but I would expect that to be early to mid-April and pretty much last the whole construction season.
Thank you. For the River Bridge project, will the bike ped path along the south edge of the bridge remain open?
Okay, that sounds like one of the previous questions about the bike trail along the eastbound bridge there along the south side, and I do not know that information right off the top of my head, but I will find that and I'll include that as the information goes back out.
Next question. Can you address the well-known fact that more lanes actually increases congestion?
If you build it, they will come. That's that is that is a reality that we have seen as well, in various projects around the metro. We believe that with our traffic modeling and things like that, that we do a pretty good job predicting the traffic that may be generated or just that will grow over the course of time. And we believe that our studies are showing that we are building enough capacity for many years into the future.
What are you doing to avoid runoff of salt, tire discharge, and reducing noise?
Okay, so a couple of those things, salt is a maintenance issue. So our MnDOT maintenance folks who plow, they're certainly well aware of some of the challenges that salt cause around the natural environment, and they're as careful as they can be with managing their salt to the right level. We need enough to melt the ice from the roadway, but not so much as to cause problems in our environment. With tire wear, that's just a function of how much traffic is on the road and tires breaking down. So that's just something that happens over the course of time. Noise mitigation, there's a couple of things. So the new pavement that we put down has a surface texture on it that, it's been engineered over the course of time, and we've gotten better at understanding how to texture concrete pavements so that they're not as noisy as they used to be. And also, there are 6 noise walls that will be built along 494 in various areas of the project, just in some of the higher density residential neighborhoods to keep the traffic noise down.
Okay, we're gonna try to get to two more questions here real
Okay,
fast.
all right.
How will the closeouts of exits to Nicollet impact the side streets as one tries to get to retail establishments located on either side of 494?
Yep, good question. Valid question. We have a lot of it will be our public engagement, just kind of training and getting the word out to people about the access changes. You will still be able to access everything. You'll just have to cross 494 at either Lindale. Well, you can still cross at Lindale, Portland, Nicollet, and 12th. It's just access to the freeway is only at Lindale and Portland. And then signs and just getting the word out. We usually see that people can find where they want to go. It might take them a couple of days or a week to figure it out, but generally, if people are aiming for a business, they'll be able to find it. And we do what we can with public engagement to help that process.
The last question.
Mhm.
Why is there no crossing for local vehicles or pedestrians in between Highway 100, Bush Lake, and France Avenue? This is nearly 1.5 miles of local businesses hindered without convenient local access.
That's a good question. I'm aware of the concern by local businesses and residents there. Um, I guess I was not around at the beginning stages of planning for this project, so I can't say everything that went into those decisions, but I know one of the issues, yes, it's important to have access so people can access both sides of the freeway, but in order to build an overpass that takes space too, so it may, you know, unfortunately need to take out a couple businesses in order to put an overpass there. So there's a balance. That's really more of a city of Bloomington issue than a MnDOT issue, but it's certainly something aware of. And we, like I said, the city of Bloomington has been a very good partner during this project through the whole time, and we continue to work with them on concerns like this.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for the questions you've submitted, and thank you, Tim.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna, if we can
Thank
advance to
you.
the next slide.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through commuter services slides fairly quickly. And again, you'll receive a set of our slides after this program so that you can contact us for more information about anything that piques your interest. And next slide, please. Strategies and commute resources for employers. We encourage employers to host a commuter fair where our staff comes on site, or an electronic e-fair, which we will provide to any employer, to hold lunch and learns or seminars. We encourage employers to promote commute options in a company newsletter or on their intranet or direct emails to their employees. We can provide you with commute resources for new hires and existing employees. We encourage employers to sign up for our quarterly employer newsletter and also to sign up for our monthly commuter newsletter. And we can give you a display of commute resources and materials with the bus schedules that serve your address. Next slide, please. We have great resources to help employers promote bicycle commuting. We encourage employers to hold an on-site bicycle safety check, similar to having a bike tune-up, offer a lunch and learn or a webinar on how to bike to work, which we can coordinate for the employer. We encourage employers to provide showers and lockers and indoor or covered bicycle parking, and to offer bike repair materials. And we encourage employers to purchase bicycles that employees can use over lunch for errands or for exercise. And then commuter services can help with, we provide a free bicycle, a free bike rack to any employer who needs one. And we provide bicycle commute resources like bike trail updates. And we have a demonstration bus bike rack, the type that is on the front of each Metro bus, so that people can learn how to put their bike on the bus in a no stress environment. Next slide, please. Bicycle commuting resources for commuters and residents. We encourage people to sign up to receive our bike trail updates email and to watch our on-demand bike to work commuting webinars on our YouTube channel, which you can have direct access to from our website. And we have free bicycle resources, including tips for riding in traffic, and we give out free copies of the Hennepin County Bike Map and more. Transit resources for employers. We encourage employers to offer Metro Pass, which is a deeply discounted transit pass with unlimited rides. And we provide personal transit information for your work site with the bus and train schedules and transit system maps. So you can request a display from us. Next slide, please. And brand new from Metro Transit, there is a transit pass for multifamily residential properties. It is $14 a month for unlimited rides on buses and trains. And each unit in the multifamily property receives one pass. And we encourage you to reach out and ask us for more information on that great program. There are transit resources for commuters and residents. We offer a customized bus or train route itinerary with schedules and 2 free passes, so you can give it a try. There is a wonderful transit assistance program. Metro Transit has a text for safety feature on their app. We provide transit system maps and information about reloadable transit passes. Next slide. Carpool assistance for employers. We help with the formation of carpools and van pools. And we provide preferential carpool parking to any employer that would like to offer that, where we provide the parking signs and we manage the program for the employer. Next slide. Carpooling for commuters. Tips on how to set up a successful carpool. And we provide access to the free carpool matching program. Next slide, please. There is a Metro van pool program. Commuter Services assists employers in setting up a van pool program, and the Metropolitan Council provides a 50% subsidy on each van pool. Next slide, please. Metro van pool for commuters. It is ideal for longer commutes, and you just need 4 people to start a van pool. 50% of each van pool is subsidized by the Metropolitan Council. And it's a very flexible program. If you're a rider in the van pool, you just need to give 30 days notice to leave. And if you're the driver of the van pool, and no one else is able to step up to drive the van pool, then the van pool can terminate within a 30-day notice. So participating in a van pool is very flexible. Next slide, please. Telework. So we've created a brand called Twin Cities Telework by Commuter Services, and there is an enormous amount of free resources for employers, managers, and teleworkers on our Twin Cities Telework website, which is tctelework.com. And we have a deep set of resources for employers, managers, and teleworkers, including sample telework and hybrid policies. We provide implementation guidance, consulting on best practices, training. We have an Ask the Expert feature. We have done several webinars on teleworking. And additionally, we have mental health resources for teleworkers and ergonomic and home office recommendations. And we encourage you to sign up for our quarterly Telework Trends newsletter. Next slide, please. And there are more resources for commuters, employers, and residents. One such is the Guaranteed Ride Home, where for people who qualify, they receive up to $100 annually in rides, which could either be via a taxi, Uber, Lyft, or transit. And you just want to be signed up for Guaranteed Ride Home before you need it. And we will keep you in the know about commuter and employer related news, as well as construction and transit related updates. So we encourage you to sign up for our commuter newsletter, our employer newsletter, and the Twin Cities Telework Trends newsletter. Next slide, please. So let me look at the time. We have 6 minutes, so we'll go back into the Q&A and get to a couple more questions, Tim. Okay, so.
Okay, sure thing.
Tell me if we did this one, I'm not sure. How will the closeouts of exits to Nicollet impact the side streets as one tries to get to retail establishments? Yes, we did that one,
Yep,
right?
we did that one. Yep.
Okay. How about?
Very carefully. Right.
Okay. Are the commercial property owners and or businesses on Nicollet compensated for business loss due to the permanent elimination of the 494 interchange?
There is a right-of-way process that we go through as part of this whole project, and yes, part of that whole package is compensation. And I am not a right-of-way expert. I don't know what all that entails, but yes, there is compensation to the businesses and private owners when it's warranted.
Very good. So it looks like we have one more question that just came in. Will the former park and ride lot south of the Richfield Best Buy campus be reopened at some point?
I do not know the answer to that. I can tell you for sure that it will not reopen at the same location. If you go out there now, it's a big pile of dirt. In we basically use the large majority of that parking lot for the turbine interchange there and the whole interaction of 35W and 494 and Penn Avenue. So
Mhm.
there are there will not be a park and ride located there anymore. I'm not sure if Metro Transit aims to move that to a different location in the future.
They have not told us about that. So
Okay.
so we've been hearing about this project for the 21 years that I've been with the Corridor Commission. It's just coming to fruition now, so we're very pleased about that.
Yay.
But we've always heard that that park and ride was temporary at the Best Buy
Yes.
headquarters until this project could commence. So I think that it will be permanently going away. And that is the end of all of the questions that we've received. So thank you so much, Tim, and the MnDOT team that helped put this together. And I want to thank my staff, Commuter Services, Kate Meredith, Michelle Leonard, Robin Nelson, and Keiko Tully. Everybody's worked really hard on this, and we'll be following up with you after the presentation. And as soon as you log off, you'll receive a short survey. We'd love to know your thoughts on this presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Melissa. Thanks, everyone.